Every day I'm shuffling and shuffling. Welcome to another live lesson on the BBR Productions YouTube channel. You've probably heard it a million times. Brand. What is your brand? How do you represent your brand? But more importantly, are people connecting to your brand? In today's episode, we're going to talk about that very question. Are people connecting to your brand? Basically, how to recognize it, how to represent your brand for people to connect on, and some simple mistakes that people make while trying to quote unquote represent their brand, but really what they're doing is they're telling instead of showing. As always, I'm Thomas J. Beleza. Please like, comment, and share this video along with subscribing for future content on how to be successful in your career, specifically in the entertainment industry. Let's get right to it, shall we? All right, as I said, today's episode is Are People Connecting with Your Brand? All right, we want to really understand uh, basically how do we identify that they are connecting with your brand. So you have to ask yourself these 4 questions, okay? Their response will tell you a lot. Ultimately, if you are on social media, if you're performing on stage, if you release a movie, if you release a CD, are you out and about in the industry? Basically, how people respond to you in any platform, physical or on the social of the medias, it will dictate how they are connecting to your brand and if they are connecting to your brand. So we'll start with the basics for people that are entertainers out there, especially musicians. Do they buy your stuff? Now, you might have shirts, CDs, maybe books. You might even say to yourself, hey, look, I'm a comedian, but I have these funny little things you could buy on my website, and they're like the plushies or whatever. Whatever, it could be anything. Are people buying your stuff? Now, this is the least responsive truth of your brand, because ultimately, if people buy into your brand, they're going to buy into your products. All right. And there's a huge difference between, hey, I hope people buy my stuff versus I hope people buy into my brand. Because remember, even as an entertainer, you are the brand. It doesn't matter if you do movies. It doesn't matter if you play music. It doesn't matter if you do comedy. You are the brand. If people are not buying into your brand, it doesn't matter what you sell, because they won't be interested in what you have as a byproduct if they're not interested in you as the product. So, support your projects comes to the next thing. Let's say you have a band, or you have or a film or something like that. If people are not supporting that, if they're not showing interest to that, if they're not putting any time into it, if on social media they don't really view your stuff, they don't like your stuff, they're probably not connecting to your brand. And the reason is you might solely be focusing on content that is self-absorbed, meaning like, I made this song, I recorded this video of my band playing, or me doing a playthrough. Maybe it's I filmed this movie. Maybe look at me doing comedy. Whatever the case may be, if your project or your content is driven from you first, like, I want people to see my thing, which a lot of people do. I want people to see my thing. You're not thinking about your brand. People can't connect to your brand through content. People connect to your brand in other ways, and then they want your content. You've earned the right to produce content where people are like, gimme, 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 I need it. All right. Are they interacting with it? And again, I'm not saying are they interacting with your buying stuff or their products. I'm saying, are they interacting with you and your brand's message, which we're going to go over what that looks like momentarily. So when you're posting stuff, right? If you're posting, like, let's say you're playing guitar, or let's say you're on TikTok and you're, oh, this person played something, so I'm going to play along with them. You're not representing brand, right? What you're doing is you're just doing content, and people are either going to like the content or not like the content. The problem is if they really like the content, that's who you are. Like, you become that thing. Like, if you're an actor and you start posting wrestling stuff, or you're doing a lot of wrestling stuff, but it's because you want people to know that you do this wrestling thing, you become the wrestling thing. So when you create a brand, it's really about what you stand for, not necessarily what you do, because what you do is not your job. Remember, your job rewards you financially to do the thing you do passionately. However, when you're posting stuff on social media, it should not be product-based or buy-based. It should be brand-based. And when you post the brand stuff, are they liking it, commenting, or sharing it? And brand isn't just like a quote, like, hey, here's a fancy quote, an inspirational quote. That isn't necessarily brand related. However, it could be in the vein of I want to be an inspirational brand. But if you're just posting quotes, you become the quotes. So your brand isn't necessarily you anymore. It's this is where I go to see inspirational quotes. If you're someone that just posts memes all the time, you're no longer the brand of who you are. Your brand is the meme person. So if you're always posting memes, you're the meme person. If you're always posting inspirational stuff, you're the inspirational person. If you're always posting jokes, if you're always posting music, and this is the issue with entertainers is brand is not your content. Brand is not the thing you do. And if people just know you as the songs or the comedy, they're not connecting with you. And therefore, if you do anything other than the content, you won't contain them as fans because the audience will be like, think of Metallica when they went from, Justice for All to Black Album, from Black Album to Load to Reload to Saint Anger to, right? If you look at the sales of their albums from Justice for All to Black Album, they went high. And then when they went to Load, it went down. And the reason is because their audience was expecting the Black Album because they worked very hard to become very like mainstream-esque. And their fan base was like, whoa, what's this, right? So you have to think about that. If you're relying on your content, that's what people are going to connect to. And the problem with that is now your content has to be that thing. So even if you're a comedian, if you're telling jokes, if your jokes evolve and you're no longer telling like your first, comedian that does 1 to 5 years, they're telling like masturbation jokes. So if you're like in your 6th and 7th year, you're like, oh, I actually have something to talk about. And you start talking about it, they're gonna be like, hey, that isn't what we like. Andrew Dice Clay is a great example of that because his routine turned into that caricature, right? And then that caricature went on to become very successful, very quick, and he sold out Madison Square Garden, et cetera, right? I think he was like the first comedian to do it like in less than a half hour or something like that. But the problem is he was starting to go, oh, this is who I am. I want to change it up. So he did like a special where like he made fun of the men instead of the girls, and he wore like a pink jacket or something. But he was like slowly changing his brand, and people were like, I'm not interested in this. And it's because the content was what people connected to and not necessarily his brand. Okay. The percentage of interaction will tell you if people are connecting with your brand. It's usually the rule of 10% to 10% to 10%, right? So if you have 1,000 followers and let's say 100 people like your stuff on average, they're connecting with your brand. But if you have 1,000 people and you're getting 10 likes, it's not as powerful. All right. You can say to yourself, oh, wow, the number response is showing me that people are not connecting with this. So why is that? What is it I'm saying? Now, if you have 1,000 followers, right, and you're getting the 100 likes, but it's solely on your content, right? Like let's say you post a song and it blows up. It gets, let's say 4,000 views and 100 or 41 likes or 400 likes, right? But then you post something that is important to you, like something that you're doing, maybe you had lunch with somebody of importance, or you discovered something about yourself that motivated you or inspired you, and people are like, I don't care. They're not interested in you. They're interested in the thing you're making, but you can't make that thing twice. You can only make it once. You can only make a song once. You can only make a movie once. Technically you could re-record it, do covers of it, you could change it up, but ultimately, you know what I'm saying. One hit wonders, there's thousands of versions. All right, so how to get people to connect with your brand. This is important. So this dictates, are they responding to your brand? And the next section we're going to go over to is how to get people to connect with your brand, okay? And remember, brand is basically your missions, morals, and ideologies. They're the things that are important to you. They're the things that, like for example, Nike. Even I'm saying as an entertainer, we have brands. We have stuff that's important to us. We have causes that we work towards. We film content or we record content that has a specific message. Even if you're a death metal band, you're still singing about a very specific thing, right? So you want people to connect with your brand, which is your missions, morals, and ideologies, the things that are important to you, and you put it through your art, your creative side, right? Okay, so how do we get people to connect with your brand? Represent your brand through action, not telling, all right? So raise money for a cause, don't tell people. What that means is, let's say you believe in raising money for cancer. If you're on social media as an entertainer and you go, hey, I raise money for cancer, telling doesn't allow people to connect to the brand because there's no process. If you just go, hey, I did a show and the money went to cancer research, that's telling. That's not necessarily process. The representation would be your story, your adventure of getting prepared for that show, or your story, your adventure of actually how the meetings went with, let's say, a cancer foundation. So let's say it's Prevent Cancer, right? Great organizing, preventcancer.org, right? The thing you would do is you would talk about had a meeting with Marissa. Uh, she always brings these meetings up when we talk, and it's really great that we're able to do what we are together. I'm excited for the next event. The thing I did was I created vague but informative, right? And then people are like, oh, what's going on? What are you doing? And now that people are asking questions in social media or even in person, now you've earned the right to tell them because they're asking. And if people ask, even if it's through a comment, they made the emotional choice to be interested. Because remember, the rule of 10% in marketing is awareness, interest, sales. The awareness is the representation of your brand, which is what I said. I had a great meeting with so and so, and it's really, she brings up the blah blah blah. I can't wait for the event, and then people are like, oh, that's vague but informative. So I'm interested. What is that about? What are you working on? And now you've created interest, and interest is an emotional connection. And then when you respond, the response will allow them to buy into it. Now you don't respond with, here's all the information. No, you respond with, oh yeah, I'm working with preventcancer.org, and the next event we do, it's gonna be to help raise money for something. And then people are like, oh great. That is a better way than going, hey, I'm working on a project. The project is a music song, and we're raising money for cancer. Like, there's a big difference in that. Okay, one is definitely telling, and one is representation. So representation, remember, is process. Show them what you're going through to get to where you're going. Telling is just stating what happened. So setting up the meeting, getting prepared for the show, getting things together, things like that. That's representation, that's process. But just going, hey, I have a show coming up. The show we will raise money with the show. It's a music show. Buy tickets. That's telling because you are literally just saying what it is. You're not letting people see the process. Okay. So that brings us to show, don't tell again, right? So represent your brand through action, not telling. So literally do stuff, and the doing will show them you don't have to tell people you're raising money for cancer if you're doing stuff and they're seeing that you're raising money for cancer. Okay, that's important. So when you speak, you want to show, don't tell. Let the truth be in the subtext of action. So in storytelling, it's very important. Like, instead of going, oh, I'm so angry at Melissa, or I'm angry at Bob, like, that isn't intriguing as a story, right? And it's the same thing with brand. If you're looking at a brand and it's saying exactly what's going on, you can't connect to the story. And in a story, if someone says, I'm so angry at Bob or Brenda, well, how are they angry? Why are they angry? How are they physically reacting to that? You know, like in a story, if it was just like, Bob walked into the room and all I could think of is the 3 different exits I can go out before he says one thing. I'm, you know, I still have no interest in what he has to say. Now you're like, oh, what happened? What happened with Bob and this character, right? And that's the same thing with branding. The truth is in the subcontext. And that's why you do vague but informative. So remember when I was talking about, I set up a meeting with Melissa, whatever her name is. All right, and I set up the meeting, and she always brings it up, and it was really great, and it's making this next event help, exciting. Whatever the case may be, that's vague but informative. There's enough information in there to know that people are working together. There's something coming up in the future. Okay, so show don't tell is about creating that vagueness, giving enough information, but allowing people to put together the pieces in the subcontext of your actions. But you still have to represent it in this, represent your brand through action, to show them the process. Talk about each stage, but don't say, I met with somebody from Prevent Cancer and we are doing an event together. That's not process. That is telling. Process would be exploring that moment. Okay. And not, I really love Marissa. We had a great time. Can't wait to the event. Like that's also not, that's, you're just stating stuff. All right. Let people see your brand through action, okay? Being an advocate for mental health or wrestling is not a brand. It's very important to understand this as an entertainer. If you believe in something, being an advocate for mental health or wrestling, like let's say you're like, I love wrestling. Wrestling's great. I'm a wrestler. I do wrestling stuff. I do hosting. I'm a commentator for wrestling. That's not brand. That's what you do. If you go, I'm raising money for mental health or cancer, that's what you do. That's not your brand. The brand is the way we present it. The brand is the why we are doing it. Why am I a part of the wrestling world? Why am I doing comedy? Why am I doing music? Why am I helping raise money for cancer? That's your brand. Like for me, cancer has plagued a portion of my family. I've seen people die. It's touched me in ways which probably millions of people have dealt with. But for me, it motivated me to start going, if I do events, I'm always going to make sure people get money for that. And that created my mission. That mission or that story is my brand. My connection with what I am doing is my brand. So that's important to keep that's let people see your brand in action, being an advocate. So the action would be that anything I do is associated. If I do an event or a live show, I help the proceeds. And even like if I do a film or something and we make money, a portion of that goes to cancer research. But I don't have to go on social media and go, hey, we just did a film, it made X amount of dollars, and we're giving this much money to cancer. What you do is you just give the money to cancer. You don't have to, well, look at me, because look at me is not brand. Look at me is just trying to get people to listen to you and be like, oh, this person raises money for something, right? There's no truth in that action because you're telling somebody. It's like going up to someone and going, hey, I'm a real honest guy and you could trust me. You can't trust somebody that tells you you can trust them, right? And the reason is because they haven't proved you could trust them. And that's the thing. If you're telling people, hey, I raised money, I raised money for Emma, right? You're just telling people stuff. You're not showing them stuff. Your actions speak louder than words, okay? Don't tell people what your brand is. Let them discover it themselves. This is important because this is how people connect emotionally to your brand. Even as an entertainer, if you're a comedian, a writer, an actor, a producer, a director, whatever the case may be, a clown, if you're a clown, okay? Let them discover themselves. Let your audience discover what your brand is. And the way they do that is if you just represent the truth. And you don't have to tell people the truth, you just have to represent the truth. What that means is, let's say I am an actor, which I am, and I'm on set and I'm nice to everybody. I do not have to go around and tell people, hey, I'm nice. By the way, I'm nice. Hey, just so you know, I'm a nice guy. You don't have to do that. You just have to be nice. And that's how we let them discover. And then they say, Thomas is a nice guy. And then if they refer me or talk about me to someone else, they go, hey, oh, that's Thomas. I like working with him. He's always a nice guy. He's always helpful. He's always this. He's always that. And anything they say about you, by the way, is the conversation of your audience, which represents the truth of your brand. Because brand is broken down into voice, image, and the conversation of your audience. So the imprint you or your message leaves on people is the conversational brand. That's the connection. And you can't get people to connect with you if you say, hey, this is what my brand is, because they can't connect to that because it's not truth. They can only connect to what they discover. Okay? If your brand, let's say Tenacious D. Tenacious D is like, they are exaggerating the musician's ego of, we are literally the greatest band ever. We're an acoustic metal band and we play these songs and they're all about us. We sing songs about, Kyle is my devil, right? Like, this is the greatest song in the world, right? All that is their brand. Their brand is that subcontext that they are elevating the concept of an egotistical musician that never really made it, but they believe they believe they're this amazing band, even though they obviously are touring and they're doing. But the story is that they are nobodies. They're an open mic band, and that's what people connect with. That why? Because musicians are like, not only am I there, I've been there. Like that's the mentality, and that's them discovering what they love about Tenacious D is they're seeing the empathy in themselves through them, and that's how a brand works. All right. So before we go on to some examples, and then we're done. I need to hydrate, and I need to tell everyone to please like, comment, and share this video along with subscribing for future content on how to be successful in your career, specifically the entertainment industry. And also, you're probably on Twitch, Facebook group, or YouTube right now, trying to get some people over to the YouTube to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Let's build and grow and make things happen. All right. Okay. So today's lesson, we're gonna end with some things that people do wrong. I'm gonna show you the wrong in red, and then I'm gonna show you a version of what it would look like if it was done correctly, utilizing, by the way, all of these aspects of how to represent your brand. Okay. So the first one is, okay, I acted in this movie. It'll be screening at XYZ. Go see it. This is 100% telling. Why? Okay, because I raise money for cancer, a cause. You can't, telling people literally what you're doing. This is literally what you are doing, but it is not process. I acted in this movie. It'll be screening at XYZ. Go see it. Well, how was the experience of you acting in that movie? And by the way, if you're posting something, you wouldn't talk experience, screening, go see it. Those are 3 different narratives. You will allow your posts and your message to maintain one narrative. So maybe our narrative is how they acted in the movie. Talk about the casting project process. Talk about, that's one post. Talk about learning your lines. That's another post. Okay. But you wouldn't say, I learned the lines for this movie I'm in. You talk about, I went through 17 pages of dialogue. I think the people in my house know the movie better than I do at this point. Like things like that is process. You're talking about like how the experience is going, and then people could relate to that, and that's how they discover it themselves. Okay. So what is a good or a better example of showing instead of telling people what you're doing? A full day on set, and the applause we gave everyone for filming 4 pages was well earned by cast and crew. Now, I'm gonna do something real quick. I'm gonna read this again. I acted in this movie. It'll be screening at XYZ. Go see it. What is the brand? And people post this all the time. Hey, I just did this, or hey, I have a movie coming. Hey, I'm performing comedy, or I got a show coming up, right? That's the same thing, okay? I acted in this movie, it'll be screening. What's the brand? Well, we know they act, but again, is that brand? What we do is not our job, right? But our job follows through this method. The thing we do is not our brand. Our brand is deep in the subcontext of action. So if I'm acting in stuff, what kind of stuff am I acting in? Is it mostly horror? Right? There are some actors who are like, oh, that's the horror actor. That's right, the person who played Jason for so many movies, right? They're like a horror person. Okay? Or Arnold Schwarzenegger was known for action for the longest time. And then what did he have to do? This is a true story. He wanted to change his brand a little bit. He wanted to add some comedy because in real life he was comedic, right? When he did Twins, he had to forfeit his paycheck and just go with back end. Arnold Schwarzenegger, who had made millions at the box office doing action, begged the studio that had made millions from him doing action films for them. We're like, you're not a comedian, you're an action star. And he's like, I will do this for free. I'll just give me some back end points because I want to take a chance. I want to sacrifice and create opportunity. And Arnold Schwarzenegger did Twins, and they made a lot of money. And then what did they do? They did Junior, and then he did a couple more comedies. And then he started mixing. If you noticed, Twins and Junior was a mixture of action and comedy for him. But then he started doing other movies where there was a little bit more comedy, and because he wanted to expand. And then he eventually moved on to drama and so forth and so forth. Okay. So being an actor is not necessarily your brand. So right now, this particular post, if I posted this, or even if I said it to somebody in an interview, if I was, oh, what's going on lately? Oh, I acted in a movie. It'll be screening at XYZ. Go see it. There's no brand. Acting is not a brand. Movie is not a brand. Screening is not a brand. And at a theater is not a brand. And telling people to go see it has no brand. So let's read the next part again, okay? Where's my oh. All right. So here goes. A full day on set, and the applause we gave everyone for filming 4 pages was well earned by cast and crew. There's a couple things going on here. The brand is no ego, right? The brand is about collaboration. The brand is about celebrating the team. The brand is about working hard. The brand is about not complaining. The brand, you see the subcontext? It could be whatever you want. I'm not saying that is like exactly what it is, but you can see different things in this. A full day on set, so you worked a long day, right? But no complaining, okay? And the applause we gave everyone, we as in like a part of everyone. So whoever wrote this, I was a part of everyone. We applaud them, gave everyone. What's this also saying? Wow, the set they worked on was collaborative and supportive. That's a good set. I would love to work on that. I just discovered the brand. I discovered that I want to follow this person more because one day I would like to work on set with them and who they work with. Why? Because it's clearly a supportive. But if I wrote that, so if I go, you know, set was really great because everyone was so supportive to the point where we were applauding, right? That's not the same because you can't discover that. And if you can't discover it, it's like literally reading a book or watching a movie and someone going, let's say in the movie he's angry, so he squeezes, he's like ah, and then he goes, I'm so angry at Jim. Like the audience isn't stupid, and now the audience feels like you're talking to them like you're stupid, right? Or say I get so angry I punch a character, and I go, I punched you because you cheated on my wife. You cheated. You had sex with my wife, right? Why do we need to know that right there? Maybe we already know that, but why? Because we would have been told in story that that person, that maybe the husband, caught was coming home and saw the guy walk out from back, and then he got it into what is going on, right? And when he punches it, we know as a reader, as an audience, we get it. You don't have to say things sometimes. So basically, what's happening here is the brand is all over the place. We gave everyone for filming 4 pages, right? Was well earned. Now, 4 pages, by the way, in an independent project, that's really not a lot of pages. In a big budget film like a Hollywood film, if you get 5 or 6 pages, that's a whole day, right? Like that's amazing. But anyway, what it's saying is independently, especially if you know they're independent because you've been following their brand, or just this post makes you follow the brand, you'll eventually learn they're independent because you don't have to say everything. This 4 pages will go, that's not even a lot of pages. And look how awesome that crew is. Look how energetic they are. Look how supportive they are. Okay. Here's another one. I filmed and worked with name to get this song recorded to raise money and awareness for cause. All right, so let's do it. I filmed and worked with name. That is not brand. Who you worked with is not brand. Okay, unless their brand is established. So like if I worked with Jim Carrey, the brand is potentially what we worked on is comedic. Potentially, because Jim Carrey has done some drama and some horror, right? But mostly he's known for comedic. If it says, I filmed and worked with The Rock, again, you might assume the brand value of that is action. But if it's The Rock with Kevin Hart, so The Rock, Kevin Hart, you're like, oh, it's going to be a comedy, okay? Because they're associating with the piggyback of an established brand. But let's assume these names are not established. They're just people you know really well, and they're like, whatever. I filmed and worked with name to get this song is not brand. Recorded is not brand. to raise money and awareness for cause. Let's say the cause is cancer or something. Raise money and awareness for cancer. That is not brand because you're telling people you're doing it. And again, hey, I'm a really nice guy. Trust me. I could tell you that all day. But until you experience it and you discover it for yourself, you go, oh, Tom, this is really nice. Okay. So here's an example of how we could write that. Final stages of recording only means my studio experience with name is coming to an end. There's a lot of discovery there. And by the way, again, this isn't exactly what the discovery is because the discovery is from your audience, but final stages of recording only means my studio experience with name is coming to end. All this is suggesting they had a good time and that's why it's coming to an end. It's like, I can't believe it's coming to an end without saying I can't believe it's coming to an end. But you're saying final stage of recording. What are you recording? It's vague but informative, okay? And why are they recording? Why did these three people get together? They're not a part of a band, so what's going on? They were in a studio, so they did it professionally. They didn't do it at home, right? So that your brand is your professional. Your brand is that you put time and money into your product, right? Okay, with name is coming to an end. This is basically representing like, this was a good experience, and after all is said and done, I can't believe it's coming to an end. Right? And it could mean other things too. You could just be like, but like it's coming to an end is never really like, oh, these son of a bitches. I'm so glad it's coming to an end. No, it's final stages. So it means that also it's saying you've been working with them for a long time. At least there was this is process. Final stages of recording only means that, right? So you have to look at it differently. This is I filmed and worked with name to get a song recorded to raise money and awareness. This is just there's no discovery. We can't discover anything in that. What are we going to discover? There's no brand to discover. There's no process to connect with. The process here is that it is the final stage, meaning like they had been working. They had been working together in the other stages, and they get into this final stage. And because they're at this final stage in the studio, it's coming to an end. Meaning that these three are not going to be working together unless, of course, they end up working together. But as far as this is stating is they are not going to be working together after this point. So they created story because of this process. All right, last one. Last one. Need that water. Even if you, by the way, this is a quote. This is like somebody like just, here's a quote of inspiration, right? And this is the problem by doing, this is an example of not showing your true brand. If your brand is to inspire people, you don't post an inspirational quote. You post something that shows how you inspire people through your actions, through what you overcame. But anyway, so here's an example. Even if you know you're good, work to find ways to improve. All right, so obviously there's no brand there. There's no brand, right? Even if you know you're good, work to find ways to improve. There's no brand. So how do we represent brand with that same message? This is my 15th script breakdown, and I'm still finding new ways to get deeper into this character's voice. There's a chance to discover because we are seeing process. The process is how many scripts, how they've been doing this for a while. And even while they were doing it for a while, so even if you know you're good, at that point, they have to think they're good, right? So a breakdown, I'm still finding new ways, right? So work to find new ways, still finding new ways to go deeper into this character's voice. There's brand there. It's showing that you don't, your purpose is no matter how many scripts you have, you're still always educating yourself. You're still always elevating yourself. You're still finding ways. You're going deeper. You're learning. Because you have to remember, if I want to inspire, I don't post inspirational quotes. I post things that I have achieved through process that could potentially inspire. You can't post to inspire because you can't discover an inspirational quote. But again, if you only post these kind of quotes, if you if you know you're good, work to find ways to improve, and then the next post is like nothing is easy. You got to keep going at it. And then the next post is you're only as good as your failure. Learn from what you've learn as you accomplish. Like then that becomes your brand, not that you are inspiring. Your brand becomes inspirational quotes. If you talk like this, hey, I recorded with these people and we're going to put the money in awareness to raise awareness to like cancer or mental health. If this becomes the splatter of information you are posting, even if you're doing like playthrough videos, right, here and there, right? But if your quotes are all about battling the demons in you and like overcoming stuff, you can't tell people to overcome things. You have to show examples of you overcoming things, and then that becomes your brand. But telling people this is not brand. You cannot represent brand by saying I filmed and worked with the name to get the, because this is just telling people stuff. You cannot believe what people tell you. I'm a really nice guy. You can't believe that until you discover and experience that I am a really nice guy. It's the same thing with your brand and how you represent it. So again, if you're trying to be inspiring, it's not your job to post inspiring quotes. It's your job to allow your audience to discover inspiration through your process, through your journey, through your content's message, right? So if you make films, well, your film should have a very specific message of overcoming things, overcoming despair, or breaking all odds. Now you can inspire, but you're not making the film to inspire. You're telling a story. You're telling a mission, a message about a specific thing of overcoming. If you're trying to raise money for awareness or bring awareness to like mental health or cancer, well, your content should just be about that. You don't have to tell people. Like if I'm trying to raise awareness for preventcancer.org, right? And I'm like, hey, preventcancer.org, right? I could just do a movie about people dealing with cancer, and the inciting incident is someone dies from cancer, and then the family members of that person go, we should get tested to see if we have a gene in us. And it's like, where do we go? And well, their discovery leads to preventcancer.org in the story. They're not like preventcancer.org. They're just like, oh, there's this thing. And then they get involved with the organization in the story, like the film or even a short. And while they're going through the process, and who are they dealing with, and how are they dealing with it, and how are they getting help, and how does it result, right? Instead of going, hey, preventcancer.org is like really good. I support them. I do music, and when I do events, I raise money and give it to them. How are you going to discover any interest in that? You can't. It's impossible. Impossible. And the reason it's impossible is because me telling you what they do is not me showing you what they do. And you don't always have to show them exactly what's happening because you want this subcontext. Subcontext is how you discover them. The more subcontext, the more vague but informative information, the more subcontext, the more chances there is for a person to discover your brand. And this is why when we post things, we don't post everything we do. We post process. And the process is an example. A full day on set and the applause we gave everyone for filming 4 pages was well earned by cast and crew. That is process. And the reason that is process is because we're talking about it was a full day. So how long was the shoot day? It was a full day. And at the end, the applause, not we applauded everyone, we congratulated. We're saying that the applause we gave everyone for filming 4 pages was well earned by cast and crew. And it's telling the story without going, hey, cast and crew did a great job today filming 4 pages and we went above and beyond and everyone was so excited we just cheered. No, it's saying that this stuff happened because they earned it. And now you're telling a story without going, I acted in this movie, it'll be screening at XYZ, go see it. And what is the difference here? This is after the movie's done and it's available to be seen. This is during the process or directly after the process, or how about the film is ready to be seen and you post this and people go, you can even put it with, oh yeah, I remember that day. I remember that full day on set and the applause we gave everyone for filming 4 pages was well earned by the cast and crew. And now somebody who reads that, if they're interested, remember it's awareness, interest, sales. They go, oh, you're working on a film? You go, actually, It's a film I had worked on. I was just reminiscent because the film was released. This weekend. Oh, what movie is it? See what I did there? I allowed them to continue to ask questions. So instead of giving them all the information, I continue to be vague but informative. Because if people are interested, they're going to ask. If they're not, you don't have to throw on the pressure of trying to get them to make a choice. They have to choose, discover, to make an emotional choice. So, hey, oh, you worked on a movie? Yeah, I did. And then I go, it's coming out on Thursday. It'll be $20. You got to go see this. There's gonna be this. Oh, and by the way, if you go, there's a food place. If you buy, they sponsored it, so eat at the food. People be like, whoa, I'm good. I got things I got to do, right? But you let them discover it through the conversation. Oh yeah, no, actually, I was being reminded of the experience I had working on that film. That's supposed to come out this Friday. Oh, what film? Oh, it was the the battle within the family. The battle within the family. What's that about? Oh, it's about someone dies of cancer and the family decides to go on this event. They start like doing preventive cancer and stuff like that. You see what I'm doing? Like I'm just slowly going through but every question they ask is another moment of interest, and another moment of interest is another emotional choice your audience is making to be interested. So if you're just posting, come check out my show, come see my movie, come look at this, come watch that. You can't allow that. You're not allowing them to discover your brand's message. Anyway, wow, 40 minutes. All right. I like to try to keep these at 20 minutes, but this is I get passionate sometimes, and I had a little audience here today. Yeah, so YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook group. Thank you for watching and enjoying the show. Please like, comment, and share the video along with subscribing. Why do we do this? Because we're trying to elevate the people around us. The reason we do that is because the more elevated the people around with us, the better it is when we work, grow, and rise together. It's not about you. It's about the people you surround yourself with. That's how we find success, is by being a part of something bigger than our ego, our desires. Our passion fulfills the group's effort. Do something, right? Anyway, be good. I'll see you next time. Remember, Monday through Friday, 4:30 every day, I do a live lesson. Usually it's like 20 minutes, but today we went a little longer. Anyway, peace and harmony, everybody.